Hey boys and girls, today we're going to talk about God's plan for a special young man's life. God has already planned out all of our lives, and all we have to do is trust in Him and follow His direction to live out what He has planned. Although we may have our own plans for our lives, this story is an amazing reminder that God knows best. This is a story about a young man named Joseph. His father's name is Jacob, and they lived in a place called Canaan. Joseph was 17 years old, and he had 11 brothers and only had one brother younger than him. Because Joseph was one of the youngest sons, his father spent more time with him, and he became very special to him. So, Jacob had a special robe made for Joseph. It was very beautiful and had every color you could imagine in it. All of Joseph's older brothers saw this, and they got extremely jealous. They got so jealous that they couldn't even say a kind word to him and disliked him so much because he was their father's favorite. One day, Joseph had a dream. He went to go tell his brothers about it. He said, "Guess what? Last night I had a strange dream. We were tying up bunches of grain out in the field when suddenly my bunch stood up, while all of yours gathered around and bowed to me." The brothers looked at each other in disgust, but Joseph continued, "Then I had another dream that the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me." "Who do you think you are?" the brothers said. "Do you think that you are better than all of us? Do you think that we would ever bow down to you?" This made the brothers dislike Joseph even more. When he told his father about his dreams, he said, "Those are some strange dreams." But he thought carefully about what Joseph had told him. A few days later, Joseph's father asked him to check on his brothers. They were in the fields quite a distance away, so Joseph went to go find them. When the brothers saw Joseph in the distance, they made a plan to kill him. But when Reuben, Joseph's oldest brother, heard this, he said, "Let's not kill him. Just throw him in a well out there in the field." He said this because he was secretly planning to come back and rescue Joseph when the other brothers had left. So when Joseph came to them, they took off this beautiful robe and they threw him in an empty well. A little while later, a group of people came by that were wanting to sell some things in Egypt. One of the brothers spoke up, "Why don't we sell him to these people? This way, we never have to see him again, and we don't have to kill him." The other brothers liked this idea, so they sold him to the people who were going to Egypt. Unfortunately, Reuben had been working and hadn't seen what had happened. So when he returned to the well, he noticed that Joseph was gone. He had been sold to an important man named Potiphar, an assistant to the Pharaoh of Egypt. The rest of the brothers took Joseph's beautiful robe and dipped it in animal blood and took him back to their father. When the father saw this, he cried, "Some animal has killed my son!" And he cried for many, many days, so much that nobody could comfort him. Now Joseph had started out as a slave, but the Lord was with Joseph and he helped him do everything right. So Potiphar made him his helper and put him in charge of everything that he owned. The problem came when Potiphar's wife lied about Joseph to her husband. So Potiphar had Joseph put in jail. The Lord was still with Joseph in jail, and the warden put Joseph in charge of all of the prisoners. He never worried because the Lord was with Joseph and helped him do everything right. After Joseph had been in jail for some time, a cupbearer and a baker to Pharaoh had been sent there. One night, each of them had a dream. They told their dreams to Joseph, and he told the cupbearer that he would soon be out of jail. "Please tell Pharaoh about me and ask him to get me out of here," Joseph said. When the cupbearer was freed, he forgot about what Joseph did. So Joseph stayed in jail for 2 more years until one day the Pharaoh had a dream and nobody could explain it to him. The cupbearer then remembered what Joseph had done for him, and Joseph was brought to Pharaoh. "Can you understand my dreams?" Pharaoh asked. "I can't, but God helps me," Joseph replied. After Pharaoh had told him his dream, Joseph explained, "God is warning you. There will be 7 years where nothing will grow and there won't be any food for anyone. Well, what can I do? Pharaoh asked. God has shown you what to do. There will be 7 years before the bad years that will be very good. So good that there will be extra food for everyone. So you should save a little bit of each year's harvest. That way you will have enough to get you through the bad years, Joseph said. Pharaoh believed all that Joseph had told him and put him in charge of all of the land of Egypt. People came from all countries to buy grain from Joseph. Because the whole world was in need of food, some of those people were Joseph's brothers. When his brothers came, Joseph recognized them, but they didn't know who he was. It had been over 10 years since they had seen him. The brothers all bowed down to him because he was just an important person, just as he dreamed they would at the beginning. After a few meetings with his brothers, he could not keep it in any longer, and Joseph said to his brothers, "I'm Joseph. Is my father alive?" But his brothers couldn't answer him because they were afraid. Then Joseph said, "Come here. I am your brother, the one you sold. Do not worry and do not be angry at yourselves for selling me, because God has put me here to save people from starving." So his father, his brothers, and their families came to live in Egypt with Joseph, and they had all the food they needed. Today's scripture verse is a simple one. It's taken from Proverbs 19, verse 21, and it says, "A man may have many plans in his heart, but the Lord's purpose wins out in the end." At times, we may not always understand what we are going through, and we might wonder God's true intentions for our lives. But just like God had a bigger plan for Joseph and protected him through everything, He will do the same for you. Now let's take a look at this quick video to visually summarize what we just learned.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Joseph. So this is Joseph.
Hey!
You see, Joseph was the son of Israel and Rachel. Israel loved Joseph more than all 12 of his sons. In fact, he made Joseph a coat to show him how much he loved him. When Joseph's brothers saw this, they hated Joseph. One night, Joseph had a dream. When he awoke, Joseph told the dream to his brothers. He said, "Listen to this dream I had. We were gathering grain when suddenly my bundle of grain rose up and all of you bowed to me." This made his brothers hate Joseph even more. And they said, "You're gonna rule over us?" Then Joseph had another dream. And he told it to his brothers and his father. He said, "Listen, I had another dream. And this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." This time Israel heard the dream and rebuked Joseph, saying, "Will your mother and brothers and I actually come and bow down before you?" The brothers were even more angry when they heard the second dream. Israel, however, decided to think about what Joseph was saying. One day, Joseph's brothers were working when they saw Joseph coming to meet them. One of his brothers mocked him and said, "Here comes the dreamer. Come on now, let's kill him and throw him away to be devoured by a ferocious animal. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." One of the brothers named Reuben wanted to rescue Joseph, so he said, "Let us not take his life. Instead, throw him in the pit."
Yeah!
So when Joseph came to his brothers, they attacked him. They took the robe their father had given Joseph. They hoisted Joseph up and threw him into the well. Then they saw a group of men from Midian coming towards them. Judah thought it would be a good idea to sell Joseph to these men. So the brothers sold Joseph to the merchants for 20 shekels. The brothers then took the coat of many colors back to their father and made him believe that Joseph had been killed. Israel wept for his son whom he loved. Meanwhile, Joseph was taken as a slave to Egypt to work in the house of a man named Potiphar, for Joseph's story was only just beginning. The Faithful Hall of Fame, Joseph. This is Joseph, who was the son of Israel and Rachel. But he had 11 brothers who hated him and sold him into slavery. After being put in jail, Joseph told of the future of Egypt when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and Joseph found favor with the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh made Joseph a leader in his kingdom. Just as Joseph had told the Pharaoh, Egypt had 7 years of abundance. Then the 7 years of abundance came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. But the Egyptians had food to eat because Joseph had planned for the famine. There was famine in all the other lands, and many came to Joseph to buy food. There was even a famine in the land that Joseph came from. So when Israel heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent his sons to buy some. But Israel did not send Benjamin with the others because he was afraid that harm might come to him. When Joseph's brothers came to him, Joseph recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger. So Joseph decided to test his brothers. He had his interpreter tell them to send for Benjamin, who had stayed home. And then he threw his brothers in jail for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph let all but one of the brothers take grain to their starving households with the instruction to bring Benjamin back. But Joseph provided for his brothers' journey and gave them grain and silver. The brothers did exactly as Joseph instructed, as they were scared that God was punishing them for what they had done to Joseph so many years before. They traveled home to their father's house, then back to Egypt. Now that he had seen that they brought Benjamin, Joseph was overwhelmed, so he released the brother who was still in prison. But Joseph decided to play one more trick on his brothers. He sent the brothers away but told his servant to hide his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph told the servant to go after the brothers and retrieve the cup. The brothers hadn't traveled far before the servant stopped them and accused them of stealing the cup. Joseph could no longer control himself before his attendants. He made them leave so he could be alone with his brothers, and he told his brothers who he really was.
Ta-da!
He told them of his life and all he had experienced, and he forgave them for what they had done. God was with Joseph and took care of him and showed him favor.
That's the lesson for today, boys and girls. See you next time.